All right, everybody. So what we want to show you real quick is the funnel, what it looks like, what are the steps involved. This will give you a sort of a good visual that you can either use to help your team obviously understand, or also use to show a client what the steps are. So you're going to have this in the assets linked below to use, but we're going to walk you through how it all unfolds in the funnel or in your stack. Go ahead, Ryan.
Put the professor glasses on here, and this is the moneymaker, guys. The first step is the lead capture. Now, there's a few different ways we've talked about on some of the other trainings on how to do that. So I'm not going to focus so much on the lead capture as to the point that once we get the lead, we're going to text a link to an assessment or survey. You can call it whatever you want. It'll depend on the niche in terms of language. I like assessment, it just sounds a little more official. The reason we're sending this link as a text, I'm going to go through, I'm going to be talking to you as the agency owner or a member of the agency, as well as a customer, like the end user. So I'll be kind of switching back and forth so that you can be able to know how you would explain the same thing. So the reason that we do the text is because text messages are seen, and we need them to go through the flow. The reason that most leads don't end up setting appointments is because they drop off because they miss the connection at some point. Generally speaking, people are usually sending stuff through email, and there's a 80% chance they're not going to even see the email. That's bad odds for appointments. So we spend all the money to generate the lead, and then we throw it in the garbage 80% of the time if we just do email. So that's why the text is so critical at this stage. If you generate the lead, you want the appointment. That's the whole point. And so you spend all the money to get the lead, let's get the appointment. So the text message is always seen. The device is always with them. So knowing that is why we got to get that text to the link to the assessment. Now we're going to talk about the assessment. The assessment's purpose is a few different things. We want to use a simple mobile survey system, which we're going to provide you with. We're going to show you how that works. And we're going to do a short video sandwich. The video sandwich is not required. Some people are not video savvy, and getting the video from your client may be a total pain in the butt. If you are doing a niched industry where you can produce the videos, then this is a good idea. The video will just enhance the engagement with the assessment, but it's not required. The assessment will do most of the heavy lifting. But if you do, there are options with this funnel to put a video before and after the assessment, just to give a little more engagement, and it can be really effective, but is not required. So I just want to emphasize that, just in case you're like, oh gosh, trying to get videos from all my clients would be a nightmare. If that's the case, you don't have to do it. If it's part of what you sell as your service, if you're already doing video, then fantastic. Incorporate that in. That's another value proposition you're adding into the funnel, another place you can charge money for. Okay, we want to do 4 to 6 questions. So at YetiText, we'll help you figure out what those questions need to be for your niche or your industry that you serve. And once you get those questions out, it's not like you have to tailor them for every single client. We're going to use the same 4 to 6 questions because the questions are very interesting. The first one is principally to categorize the prospects, okay? Generally speaking, most industries, there are a few different situations that the prospect's going to find themselves in. And we use the first question to categorize, because the way that the assessment software works is it records the answer to each question as it's answered. So even if they don't go through the rest of the questions, we'll have categorized them and be able to then follow up and make sure they get to the appointment with the right wording, with the right motivation. The rest of the questions, the other 3 to 5 questions, are principally designed to change the frame of the person. So how do they see the world? So we all think in questions, whether we realize that or not. In fact, you just asked a question as I said that to evaluate if you really do think in questions, which further confirms that you do think in questions. And so what we do with the questions is we can introduce new ways or new things to consider that they may not have considered before, that can help them prepare for the appointment and ultimately the buying decision. And the reason we're going to be focusing and talking so much about preparing for the appointment and the buying decision is because we want your end client to be successful at selling. If we produce more appointments and they close the same number as they did before or worse, they're not going to be happy. So we want them to sell. So we're going to do everything we possibly can to set them up for success. So these questions that like I said, we'll help you at YetiText to produce these, are going to be designed to help get that person thinking in a way that prepares them for the buying decision during the appointment. Always we're thinking about the appointment with the funnel. Always thinking about the appointment, because the whole point isn't to get more appointments. The whole point is to get more customers so they get more money and more profit in particular. So we always keep that goal in mind as we go through this whole thing. The questions also can help the prospect to feel understood. We're going to talk more about that when we talk about how to sell this funnel, but this concept's really important. And the assessment questions will help them to feel understood, which makes them better prepared to open up during the appointment, and as a result, make a good buying decision. The other thing, this is more of a technical concern, is we want to make sure throughout this whole process that we persist the contact information all the way to appointment scheduling. A lot of your other options are going to drop the ball on this. And it's a huge oversight, because there's one of two choices. One, we need to persist the contact information through the whole thing, or two, we have to ask them to re-enter contact information over and over again, which is prone to issues. And the issues that will come up for your clients will be somebody's getting automated messages that don't match their actual situation, because what will happen is people will forget which email they put in at another step. They'll put in a different email, and then we'll create multiple contacts in a marketing automation software. And then all of a sudden we got weird messages going out and people get ticked off. And guess what? If you want to have any kind of client pull the brakes, have that kind of information going on. When prospects get the wrong message, it upsets them. But when they get the right message, they're super thrilled. So we really pay attention to persistent contact information from all the way from the text message all the way through to the appointment. So there's no double data entry, and there's no way for them to screw this up. Okay, so we're going to, at the end of the assessment, the very last page of the assessment, whether we have the video at there saying, hey, thanks for finishing this assessment, now click the button to schedule a survey. Whether that's there or not, we're going to have the link for them to schedule an appointment. Sorry, not a survey, but to book an appointment. So we'll have a book an appointment link. We're going to be recommending Calendly on that. If you have a different software you want to work, that's fine. Talk to us. We'll let you know if it will work. We're very familiar with all the places where contact information can drop out, but we're going to tell you Calendly. Again, no double entry. We don't want them entering in their name and email address again, because it's going to screw things up. This means less friction. Tap, tap, tap. That's what we're looking for. As little typing as possible. When we do the assessment, we're going to teach you guys to do multiple choice as much as possible. If you do have to let them enter in some sort of information, we want to reduce that to word, maybe 2 words, not paragraphs. We want to really limit the assessment, because the assessment, while it is going to help them feel understood, we're not trying to get a bunch of different answers. We're trying to categorize people so we can communicate effectively with them, help them feel understood, change the way they see the world. Okay, just to understand, the assessment isn't what you may think an assessment is. It's designed to prepare them for the appointment so they say yes. So we're looking at reducing any data entry to a bare minimum. If they had to do it at the very beginning, they should never have to do it again. It's really, really important through this flow. We're going to record that appointment into the CRM so that it can become actionable. And then we want to, this is really important as you're setting this up either with us or with a client, depending on how you want to do it. You want to enforce a time till the appointment that they can choose that allows for the proper preparation of the prospect. That's a tongue twister right there. But what we don't want to do when we're doing an appointment funnel is let them set the appointment whenever they want. We want to build enough time between the time when they're choosing their appointment time and the actual appointment so that we can do any preparation necessary so that they're ready for the appointment. If you've ever sold by appointment, you know the most annoying thing in the world is to get somebody that shows up that doesn't know what the heck is going on. I mean, that is probably the worst thing that could happen, is to have that person show up and go, okay, so who are you and what are you selling? That's not what we want. We don't want that for our clients either. And so we want to allow enough time for us to make sure that they understand who they're talking to and why. And if there's any preparation that they need to do before the appointment, that they've done that preparation. So case in point, working with real estate agents. Going back, I mentioned briefly the history of helping my brother with a company where we were teaching real estate agents how to close short sales. If they came to the short sale appointment with the real estate agent and they didn't have information about their mortgage and some of their hardships that caused them to not be able to pay the mortgage, there was nothing that could be done in that appointment. They couldn't finalize the agreement and then sign a contract in good conscience. So the real estate agent needed to have those documents with the person when they showed up to the appointment. So if we allowed an appointment to occur without that, then we stole inventory from the real estate agent. And I'll explain how that works in just a moment. So with our reminders, we're going to have reminders based on the appointment requirements. So if like I was just going into, if there's certain documents they need to bring, certain things they need to do beforehand, certain things they need to evaluate with decision makers before they show up, we want to make sure that the reminders are reinforcing those requirements. That it's saying, hey, remember before you show up, you've got to have this, this, and this. Or remember before you show up, you need to talk to your partner or spouse. That kind of stuff needs to be happening in our reminders. At least a day and an hour before the appointment. We want at least 2 reminders on any appointment. I don't like appointments to be set like the next day, but if they do, then we got to make sure that we're sending out those reminders the day before and then an hour before at least. So that's what the system will do. If it's longer than 2 days, then we want to add content reminders into that, because while this is a fixed and easy to implement funnel, it's very adaptable to the situation of your clients. So if your clients say, I need a week heads up before I can have an appointment, that's fine. But if it's going to be longer than 2 days, then we need to add in some content reminders. Content reminders are those that give them more information that will help them make a good buying decision when they show up to the appointment. So that may be a video talking about common myths and misconceptions that people have about the industry that your client is in. It could be, things to know before you make a decision that you're going to be asking them to make, that kind of stuff. And we're also trying to build anticipation of the value that's going to come out of the appointment. The appointment shouldn't be looked at by the prospect as just a sales thing where they're going to be pitched. It ought to be looked at as something where they're going to get some value just for showing up. And that's the way we want to couch all of this. And so the reminders do that as well as get them to the appointment. Always remember, and I've already said this a couple of times, the goal is for them to buy or make a buying decision so that your customer has more clients, has more revenue, more profit, so that they have more money to pay you to continue to be the agency helping them grow their business. Okay. That's the goal. Always keep that in mind, because if you let it slide to something else, then what we'll do is called local optimization, and we'll screw up the whole system. Now, that being said, there are 2 things that we're going to have as levers that we're going to pull. We'll teach you more about these as we get into it. But there are things called accelerators. Accelerators could be that short video that we put at the beginning of the assessment that helps people stay motivated and excited about continuing through the flow and showing up at the appointment. And then there's filters. Anybody that's sold by appointment knows that sometimes you get the wrong person showing up at the appointment, and that bums you out. We'll talk about why that bums you out so much. We would want to think about, how do we filter out that person? So maybe we add a question to the assessment that if they don't answer it properly, then we end up saying, sorry, hey, we're not going to be able to meet with you. So let them go ahead and set the appointment, because we don't want to block that flow. We want to keep this frictionless. But then when the client evaluates, you'll tell them, hey, if they don't answer this question properly, then you'll just send them this declination email that says, sorry, we're not going to be able to meet with you because you haven't met this requirement yet. We really appreciate that you thought of us. Okay. That's a filter. So you're going to use accelerators and filters to fine tune. And this is why there's a recurring element to this as an agency, is because you're going to be collecting feedback from the client. Okay, how have appointments gone? How's the quality? If the quality is not good, we will use this process to insert filters or accelerators to improve quality and quantity, because what we're trying to do is balance those 2. You really want to get a good balance of quality with quantity. And the reason why is because in an appointment selling business, any business that sells by appointment, their inventory is time. And the bad part about their inventory is they cannot preserve it. It's constantly expiring. And they know this really well, even if they can't articulate it like this. It's important that you are able to articulate it, because when you articulate to them, look at, you don't get extra time for appointments. The time is either used in effective appointments or is expired. What we're going to help you do is fill that inventory that's being destroyed. If you sold cars in each hour a car just crushed itself, if you didn't sell it, you would understand the value of moving the inventory. And it's the same situation with sell by appointment. Anytime that's not filled with qualified and prepared leads is destroyed inventory. It's just ripped out from under them and they can never be replaced. And so that's why it's going to be so critical that you help them to think through what does a good appointment look like? And this process will actually allow you to create good appointments for them. So if you've been stuck in the position where you've been generating leads and then being told by them, these are just crap leads. The problem is there's no system going between the lead capture to the appointment to properly prepare them. And this funnel right here will allow you to convert what they say are crap leads into good leads, because it'll prepare them properly for the appointment. So that's the really exciting part about this. We're using the texting for the pushing them to the assessment. We're going to use, I guess, let me lay that out here. We're going to use YetiText for the text from wherever the lead is captured to the assessment. The assessment is another tool that we offer to you guys. This one is called AC Widgets. This is for Active Campaign, and this has the survey. This preserves the contact information through the appointment scheduling. Then we recommend using Calendly because they already have an integration built into Active Campaign. We're going to use YetiText to send the reminder text. Look at, there's some people will want to cut corners on this and they'll think, oh, we'll just send them emails. Don't do it, because the text message is seen. Marketing is about consumption, not sending. And so we're going to get the message consumed when we text them the reminder, especially if that reminder has, and we got all sorts of ways. So you guys don't have to worry about the nitty gritty of this, but we can make sure that they get that information so that they'll be able to really show up prepared to make a buying decision, which is ultimately what you want for your own company as well as for your client's company. And then finally, the system that we've set up is designed primarily to run an active campaign, although we have methods for waking it work with other CRMs like HubSpot and Drip and these others that might be out there. So depending on what your partnership focuses on or what your agency focuses on, we'll figure out the solution for you. But this one that we're walking you through here, that's really a well-oiled machine, works on Active Campaign. Active Campaign's nice is because they do the white labeling for you if you want to do that. Their entry point is very easy. So any of your business process, any of the clients you have, you can wrap in that, and it's not going to be a major expense considering the value you're going to be able to charge for this. So that's the overall overflow of the thing. Now we're going to have Todd go through the actual setup with Alex, and we're going to show you how you set up each of these components. And then, if you decide, hey, we want your help with it, even if we show you the education, we'll still walk you through it. So I think it's important at this point just for you to understand from our perspective at YetiText. I don't know how other companies do it, but we think that any minute that we spend with you is gold. And we want to invest that in you, because any minute that we spend with you helping you get this set up for your customers is good for us. It's good for you. So we do a lot of screen shares, phone calls, chats, whatever way is most effective for you to get help from us. We'll invest that time with you because we look at you as a partner, not just as someone that's just sending us some business. So we'll take the time with you to make sure that you understand this. We'll help you figure out what those questions need to be. We can talk to you about accelerators and filters that might help you as you're trying to refine this for your industry or your niche that you serve.
Awesome.
Alex, any questions that you think we should answer at this stage before we go into showing the nitty-gritty of setup?
No, I think this is really good. I mean, I learned a lot. Obviously, the full funnel is there. I hope everybody understands how this is going to be articulated in process. Again, if you don't have Calendly and maybe you use Acuity or one of the other calendar apps, we're going to show you how this is going to work with your open calendar. The important thing is that you do have the entire system automated, which would calendar app, the embed there. And then depending on what system you have, we'll talk through the setup and whether there's a webhook or a native integration and how that's all going to unravel in a flow.
Alex, I can't see a situation. If you pick the right client for this funnel, the cost is going to be negligible to the value to the customer, and negligible to your overall charge to the customer as well. Knowing what each of these things cost and their investment in terms of understanding how they work and stuff, super minor, especially once we show you how things are set up, compared to the overall value that you're going to get as the agency, as well as the value that the end customer is going to get. There's a lot of meat on this bone.
Understood. This is really good. I'm pretty excited about this. I hope everybody else is as well. And we're going to go ahead and see you in the next class. Thanks again, Ryan.
My pleasure.